Welcome back to another Burn30 podcast. We have a special guest with us today that we're going to be talking about all things nutrition. Anthony Richards is joining us. He's a dietitian. He's worked in a lot of different fields, and we're anxious to dive into all things nutrition. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Anthony, I want to just start in real quick with how you got into this field in the first place.
So back in college, I needed to learn something. I was forced to go to school like many people. So I was originally in psychology, wasn't enjoying it that much. I was working out all the time, but I needed to know what to eat. So then I started researching on my own, like many people do, and found a true passion for like nutrition, science, fitness. I was able to do a lot of things with the stuff I researched. I learned about bro science and what's correct about that, what's wrong, and then moved into actually starting a career with it. And I went on to Michigan to get my master's degree in the field as well before I became an official dietitian, because we need the internship. Then after Michigan, I graduated 2019, December 2019, became a dietitian early the next year. And since then, I've just been loving the job, loving the career.
So you've started your own company now, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so 2023, August, I decided to branch out and get more into the fitness field of nutrition again. My careers up until this point have been in food service and the hospital setting, so acute care. But the inspiration for Kona was to really get people connected again and bring high-level nutrition education back into the modern athlete. So anyone who wants some sort of professional level stuff that normally is reserved and saved for professional athletes, I wanted to offer that nutrition education to them so that they can still achieve, their goals without having to pay astronomical prices. So,
and are you only working with athletes, or who would benefit from Kona Nutrition?
Anyone right now.
Yeah.
So with my experience in clinical dietetics, I work with people with heart disease, kidney disease, diabetes, all that stuff. So that's kind of my bread and butter. But my interest with nutrition in the athletic field has been mostly, weightlifters. We've gotten into CrossFit. We've gotten into personal trainers and everything. So whatever your health goals are, we've kind of adapted to be able to build like a nutrition program for you for that specific thing. Because as you know, different activity types end up leading to different results. So if you're a marathon runner versus a sprinter, that's going to yield a different result and need different nutrients to, get those physique results or those performance results.
Mm-hmm. I think for a lot of people, all they think when they think nutrition is dieting, like they're like, oh, I got to go on a diet. And then that's like their knowledge stops there. And I just got to cut calories or cut out sweets, or I got to cut out X, Y, or Z. What are some of the things that you're seeing when people first come to you that you have to do this heavy education with them, or, what knowledge level are people coming to you with?
Yeah, we get a full range. I've worked with definitely some like high education people, lower education people, everyone on the spectrum. Most people coming through the door do want to lose weight. I started with doing a muscle building package, a weight loss package, and like a performance optimization package. So 90% of people are like, hi, I want to lose weight. You're the type of person that does that, right? So in that process, we kind of teach them that we don't only do weight loss. Anytime you make a dietary change that's consistent, you will have some result. So if the target is, muscle building, then we're going to increase the protein, increase the calories to make that happen. Anytime we increase the quality of food, you can expect some weight loss, because the low quality foods have a lot of stuff in it that leads to holding fluid onto the body, not only calories, but the fluid. So usually within a few days of getting on like a Kona nutrition meal plan, depending on what your goals, people start noticing like increased energy levels, they start feeling better. That first meeting is when we do most of the education, but by the time people start feeling better and they're liking the results, they don't really care as much about the education. So it's fun. It's still fun to teach. And in those processes, people come in the door and they stay with us for 9 months, 2 months, 1 month. And as long as they get what they need out of it, then they can move on and, live a good life. But not as many people are as interested in the science as I am.
Yeah. Well, no, that's great.
Can you walk us through kind of let's say one of our clients at Burn30 wants to meet with you, what would the first interview be like? What are the next steps? What are you expecting of the client to kind of like a food diary of some sort? Is there measurements, things like that? What's the process?
The whole process.
Yeah. Just like a step-by-step kind of like
of
what
course.
For a client to expect.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like to interview people first. Mm-hmm. So when they come in the door, they have certain questions and I have more questions for them. So they'll say, I want to lose weight. And I'll say, well, what's your background? What do you do for work? What are these things that may influence what we end up doing with them, like what their decision is, to make it custom. Say they sign up, they want to do a 4-week program with us. We start with a 1-hour meeting, which is where we build the plan. Mm-hmm. It's mostly me interviewing them about what their dietary habits are, explaining to them what education may be needed in the process. Usually we lay the groundwork of what the expectations are before that, and then during that meeting is all focused on the client. I do have nutrition coaches that sometimes will attend with me, and if that coach is the person like helping with the coaching aspect and I'm monitoring the science aspect, we kind of work as a team, like a 3-person team developing that plan. So that's that first hour. If before or after that meeting they've been introduced to our health network, we do link them up to Healthy. Healthy is a secure platform, and we track and monitor everything there. We can do messaging, we do virtual calls. Everything is kind of guided through there. So they'll use their food journal to track food maybe for a week, and then when we meet for that first meeting, we have a week's worth of data to really discuss. Yeah. If that meeting happens first, then we usually take a week to track that. After that meeting is where we kind of develop their custom meal plan. So most nutritionists can't make meal plans, and that's something that some people in the fitness industry understand and know, but basically as a dietitian, I have that liberty and the license to protect people in making like a safe and secure meal plan. So we prescribe a meal plan for them. That's kind of where we begin. And I call that the backbone, the structure of what we do, because I don't want anybody following any sort of plan for a long period of time. So we'll start maybe as like, here is your example, follow this for a week or two. Then each meeting that we have with them, usually the meetings are weekly, about 30 minutes, and we will evaluate how well they did with the meal plan, how do they feel, what are some things they're noticing, and depending on what their results are, we continue to tweak and change that plan. Okay. We often have, people coming in the door asking about scale-free nutrition. That's becoming a primary focus of us as well.
Oh, what does that mean?
Yeah, so instead of focusing on the scale, as we know, we can jump on the scale and we feel really good about ourselves or really bad about ourselves. Yeah. And that can go day to day, hour to hour. We kind of liberate ourselves. We try to take the chains off of that scale so that we don't have to jump on the scale. We don't have to focus our results based on something that can be fluctuating day to day. There's a lot of education around why that day-to-day scale doesn't necessarily matter, because that fluctuation can really derail you. If you have one salty meal one night, the next day you've gained a pound and people think that it's an actual pound of body fat. Right. And then they give up on the plan for the rest of the day or the week or whatever the case is. So,
just recently, and not to share too much here, but I just had my first colonoscopy, so that was exciting. But
let's share.
We'll talk about the scale. So I, for just the fun of it, I weighed myself before I started the whole process, and I weighed myself after. 8 pounds in one day,
That's incredible.
Right? So it's like, and then you feel really good about yourself. I just lost 8 pounds, but that just goes to prove how much of that is just water weight and
inflammation
and all these things that, it's not fat loss right away, right? Or muscle gain, or you name it. But to your point, I love that. That freed me a little bit in my own mind to know that, listen, what I'm seeing here on this scale, it doesn't really, but look in the mirror, how your clothes fit, how do you feel? How are you sleeping? That sort of thing.
Correct.
Yeah. Energy levels and
we definitely want to focus on those, because that scale, like when I started Kona, I did need a little bit of like scale, like weight-based stuff to make my calculations. But now I've done it long enough that I understand most people fall into certain categories, and I can just tell by looking at them about how many calories they might need. So when it comes to like macros and stuff, I always tell people I count for you. So
can we talk about what a macro is
Yeah,
for those that don't
that's a good call.
Yeah.
So macronutrients are the types of nutrients that yield energy. Yeah, energy in the form that will eventually become ATP that creates the energy that we use. We have micronutrients too. Those don't yield energy. They may add to energy production, like the ability to create energy, but they don't actually yield some sort of like mass of energy that breaks down into a calorie. So protein, carbs, fats, and believe it or not, alcohol is considered macronutrients because they yield certain.
We had to count that at one point.
Yep.
If you're really counting, you got to count those.
Am I going to plug that into my fat or my carb?
Right.
Yeah.
It's sneaky because carbs and protein are the same calories. Fat is 9 grams per, or 9 calories per gram. Carbs and protein are 4, but alcohol is 7. So it's just right in the middle, just kind of hanging out there, being its own thing. But yeah, then the micronutrients and stuff don't yield that. They contribute to it and everything. But protein, fats, and carbs, when it comes to weight loss, weight management, gain, it's all about calories in, calories out. We always try to reinvent the wheel about, hey, let's, go in keto, carnivore, all these different types of diets. But calories in, calories out still remains to be the most efficient and effective way to change the physique. What I teach my clients is about 80% of it is those calories, then 20% is the quality of food. So, we've heard the term dirty bulking. That is kind of true. You can bulk using a dirty, diet. Dirty being, you're eating a lot of processed foods, salty snacks.
As long as you're meeting your macros.
As long as you're meeting macros. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, but then as soon as, you change your quality of food into like a high quality diet, then you see those really fine-tuned changes. So sometimes we have people who naturally are eating the right amount of macros, but maybe it's in the poor form. So we'll tweak it a little bit, but then focus on quality of food. And then
how many people are coming to you eating the right amount of macros? Because like every time I go back to counting, I'm like, I'm so far off. I can't believe how far off I am.
Yep. One of the biggest topics we cover in any of our seminars, any of our education sessions is protein. The adage is 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And that is an astronomical number when it comes to the actual science. It is more like for high performing athletes, depending on what your goals are, it's 1.4 grams to 1.7 grams of protein per kilogram.
Okay.
So 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds. So what that 1 gram per pound is actually saying is a multiplier of 2.2, which is in perspective to like actual, science and medicine. We recommend about that much for people who are like burn victims and stuff like that. So when they actually need to like reheal their skin, like reheal like they've had an amputation, that's the only time that we really recommend that high level of protein.
All right, then I'm not going to feel bad for not hitting my protein goal.
Yeah. Reestablish your protein goals. It's going to be much better for you.
What do you do, Nate? It's one.
I try to do the 1 pound thing, but I never hit it.
Right.
1 gram
It's
per
so hard.
pound.
Right. Yeah. It's just too,
at your ideal
much.
body weight, is that something?
Ideal body
versus,
weight. There's a calculator for that. Ideal body weights, it's not as accurate, but the most accurate I would say is you take the grams per kilogram, unless your BMI is over 30. Then we use something called the adjusted body weight. That's another formula that'll take a lot to explain, but
that's why we have you though, and then you make it pretty simple and straightforward for the client.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So people coming in the door, you don't have to worry about the counting, the numbers. I calculate all that for you. I lay it out for you. You just do, the plan that I set out, and it's just kind of follow the leader at that point. And then we tweak, educate, move on. And that, meal plan remains like the backbone of what you're trying to do, but we move into intuitive eating. So now we're eating based on how are we feeling? What do we know that we need? Like how much protein do we need per meal? How often do we need to space that out? All those things kind of come with, because I don't ever want to information overload someone. So we can teach that in the beginning, and we do teach those things in the seminars and stuff too. But during a guided program, we kind of break down how that education is provided based on who we do have coming through the door.
Yeah, I'm sure you see this all the time, but people come to you with gluten, allergies or vegetarians, vegans,
Dairy's a big one too.
Yeah. Are you able to fine tune
yes
for them? And maybe they're coming to you with issues, gut issues or something like that, and they can't even figure out, and I don't know, maybe there's some you can even help them with that to start off with.
Yeah, that's actually a primary focus we're leaning into with 2025 is we've had very successful client interventions for people with gut issues.
Okay.
One of the main things for the gut issues is like this high protein diet, often leads to gut issues. So then we bring the protein down. They still have the muscle gain that they're looking for, but then their digestion is a lot better. Then there's other diseases like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, other fancy diseases. But basically we can navigate the food and the fiber and all that stuff to either improve digestion, improve the gut flora, all that stuff. Those were very popular topics about like 5 or 10 years ago, and the research is still like really there, fine-tuned. But medicine, focus is not necessarily in digestive disorders as much as it used to be now that like COVID and everything and blah, blah, blah. So digestive disorders are, a very good focus that we have right now. But with anyone coming through the door with sort of like restrictions, we do have the capability of evaluating what they may be deficient in.
Okay.
That becomes the primary thing. So if you can't have milk, we're looking at like other sources of phosphorus, other sources of calcium and vitamin D. Anyone in this area of the country is deficient in vitamin D at this time of year specifically. That's that seasonal depression and everything. And the doctor will put you on a pill for this time of year, and then, sun comes out, we all feel better. So
I was just going to ask you, what do you see in people come in and 9 times out of 10 or whatever, they're going to be deficient? I mean, magnesium was one for me.
Yes.
And I'm sure a lot of other people. I'm guessing calcium for a lot of people.
Yeah. So calcium's interesting because it is we'll consistently put calcium back into our body from our bones. And that's what leads to osteoporosis down the road. So if we consistently don't have enough calcium, we don't replenish the bone. But our blood calcium stays pretty consistent. And if we're not eating enough calcium, it's coming from our bones. And then we become hollow, and then we have easy breaks when we're older. So it's important to consistently get that calcium, but it's really hard to tell if you're not getting it, if you're not keeping an eye on it. Magnesium is a huge one because the main foods with magnesium are nuts and seeds, spinach, kale, things that people don't normally add to their diet unless they're
not excited to eat those things.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm all about a magnesium supplement.
Magnesium
helps me sleep, helps with digestion.
Yep.
So
many things that we struggle with, within American society, is that deficiency of magnesium. So as long as we get enough magnesium, most of these, I shouldn't say most, but a lot of things can be corrected with that, which is fantastic.
Do you work with a practitioner, or I'm not sure how that, or you just rely on the patient or the client, working in the healthcare field right here.
Yep.
You're the client regarding any blood labs, or do you run across that at all, or?
Often.
Yeah.
So as a dietitian, I have the capability to be helping with that. My coaches don't, but that's why I stay involved with all my clients. Basically they get the medical side as well. I don't have a specific person I go to, but if I am suspicious of some sort of deficiency, I will recommend, hey, talk to your doctor about this.
Great.
And then usually they'll have some sort of lab values that they can share with me, and I can read and help them, evaluate, okay, we need more magnesium. So then we're going to get more magnesium-based foods.
Speaking, you were saying kind of like a plan. Are some people coming to you be like, just tell me what to eat? Write it down for me. Are those, I think everybody's different.
Grocery shopping with me.
Can you handhold me? Can you come to my house?
More often than you think. Yeah.
And cook for me. How much does that cost?
Right. Well, I've had people turn me away because they thought that we gave them the food. Like that we made a meal plan and they'd send them the food, and it was like some other company like that. And I was like, I'm one person. Yeah. I'm not a chef. You won't want the food that I'm going to make for you. It'll be very bland and not well made. But yeah, a lot of people are looking for those kinds of services, and those are things we're looking into in the future. We are developing, so the custom meal plan is like the core product as far as how well we've been able to develop it into a very successful thing. But what we're going to start doing in 2025 is like a shopping list that may go along with it. So I'll make that plan, and somebody else will make the shopping list, and then that becomes part of the bundle that you receive when you start with us. Different things like that, ebooks, education material, that's all available while we work together and stuff.
What are you finding with the different generations? I mean, obviously at Burn30, we run the gamut of ages, and I'll be working out with somebody in their 70s or 80s, and I can be working out with somebody even younger. What are you seeing with the I don't want to say the knowledge, but obviously the food pyramid was completely different when my parents were going through school than it is now. And is there a lot of education, with different age brackets that you see?
A range, I would say. Our primary focus has been like female athletes and stuff like that. So usually the intention is in females is more towards, weight management and everything. 50 and older is part of the generation that was told that they need to hyper restrict in order to get these goals. And science has changed since then. We do want to make sure that there's more like a window. If we restrict too much, there's starvation mode and everything. Our metabolism downshifts and doesn't work in our favor, and then we're just sad and upset and frustrated. So that generation, we do run into a lot of people who are stuck on, I can't eat bread, I won't touch pasta, I haven't had a potato in 20 years. We have a lot of that, and we do a lot of like uncovering and undoing of that kind of like knowledge and attention, and specifically the scale. Back to that scale conversation. A lot of people in that generation are more focused on the scale, where when we have younger people, not, all types of like body types that come through the door, not just, underweight, overweight, the younger generation is more focused on feeling better and trying to get better energy levels and having an enjoyable time rather than I want to lose weight and feel better. I don't care what it takes. It's
almost like you're punishing yourself, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. And it never did. But we were told. And,
I mean, the diet structure has been from, let's say, was it like fat was bad and then carb, you know what I mean? It's very confusing. I think there's just so much out there. It's so confusing.
I cut carbs completely, or I'm cutting out fat completely.
I think whenever you're cutting out a food group, the point of it is to be consistent and successful throughout your life. It's not just, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're cutting out a whole food group, I think it makes it more difficult to sustain it, because that's hard to, and then you're like, now what? I lost the weight, but what do I do now?
Right.
So
I can never have pasta again. Like,
no, it's not realistic. It's so hard. So I think having that education is so important for weight loss.
Every diet, I'm very liberal when it comes to those diet like mindsets coming through the door. With I'm strictly carnivore right now. I'm keto. A new diabetic may come through the door and say, I started carnivore, I lost 20 pounds, and my blood sugar's perfect. Yeah. Which is fantastic. Right. Those are fantastic results for that person. We have to be conscious of heart disease, with that really high fat diet. Those are things that people don't really talk about, is possibly even the kidney disease that could come from a very high protein diet. And it's not necessarily like there's not one diet that fits all, except for maybe a whole food, high variety, do the best you can kind of diet. But that's also why we individualize our programs, because each person may have different lifestyle needs, interests and stuff like that. But to say one diet covers everything and it's the best one for you, we've tried all of our lifetimes. There's been thousands of diets that come out that become popular and fade away. And they're all going to continue doing that until we, maybe settle on something. But even
some
then,
celebrity picks up some crazy thing.
I think everyone is just looking for an easy fix. Yeah. Everyone's looking for that, like a pill or something, but we just have to get that out of our mindset.
Yep.
And that's sometimes hard to break for some folks.
We see it a lot at the gym, where clients come to us and just think that workout, that 30-minute workout that week is going to be what's going to help them lose weight or feel a certain way.
It's a part of the story, but
right. It's a component, but maybe you can talk about that a little bit too, because you're in fitness as well. That marriage between nutrition and exercise.
Definitely. Yeah. They all say abs are made in the kitchen.
Sure.
There's something to that. You can work really hard. And that's what I ran into. And that's, again, why I started the company, is one of those main reasons, is you can work really hard in the gym. You can go 7 days a week. You can be putting everything you've got into your fitness and not seeing the results that you want. And there's multiple reasons why that might happen, depending on what your fitness goals are, if they're actually like attainable for your age, your body type, and all that stuff. But that, we see a lot of results when we start working out, because our body's changing, but then we adapt to it. So then we need more things to change, more things to, calculate in order to make it exactly what we want. And the focus on body image has increased significantly since social media came around. So now that's always there. It's always in our face. And it used to be in models on TV. Now it's models on our phone. And now it's, everyone is just constantly bombarding you with, you're not good enough. So, a lot of the focus there is just to center what you feel, at least what we help people with is centering how you feel about your own body, and whatever progress we can make is great. But that marriage between fitness and nutrition, if you're not eating right, you're not going to get there. But same deal, if you want big muscles, you can't just eat until you have big muscles. You have to power them. You have to challenge them, process that growth and everything.
Well, you even find too, with maybe a client comes to us and they do eat really well, they just don't exercise, and that mobility and sustaining them for life with the, being able to move or keep up with grandkids or that sort of thing. It's that 1-2 punch that you need to have.
Since diving in, I've met a lot of like fitness people now through this process of not only starting the company but working it for the year and a half we have, and I've gotten a lot of feedback, and it is incredible how much exercise, like incorporating some sort of exercise regimen, has changed people's lives. You know, it changes, whether it may not even be physique or how they feel, but having that mobility, to be able to do stairs at 75 years old, and to be able to move around and actually walk when their father or their mother was not moving at that age. And people are just outliving their parents, and a lot of it has to do with that fitness passion. The standard for Americans is 3 days a week of 45 minutes, I think, or something like that. And that's enough to like really push some cardiovascular health. But the endorphins, the dopamine, the feel good about myself, the self-esteem, all those like little aspects of, the community, that's another one.
Huge.
Yeah. Especially after, everything the last few years, having a community has been one of the best things for people when it comes to going to a place, getting professional help, and just, bettering themselves, whether they see the most results or their body's not meeting their expectations, but they're having fun doing it. Those are huge. And you can't just, eat that way.
Yeah. We have our trainers. I mean, they're heroes because people come in and they just unload their problems,
like a hairdresser or something.
Exactly. I was just about to say, I do that with my hairdresser.
They're therapists along with being trainers, and they get asked a lot about what should I be eating, and they can give. They're only with them for 30 minutes, and they're trying to walk them through their exercise, so they can't sit down and break down exactly what you can do. And so having you on board here is going to be a huge game changer, I think, for a lot of our clients. Hopefully they take advantage of it, because they'll really start to see all the hard work they're putting in at Burn30. Now they'll finally start to see, okay, now my body is changing the way I want it to, or now I do have that energy level that I was hoping for, or you name it, or just that much more. And for me, that was how it was for me at Burn30 for a very long time. When I was a client, that I would go, I'd put in my 30 minutes, and then that night I'm at the bar having my wings and beer, and I worked out today, so this is fine, but that was all the time. So
I deserve this.
I deserve this. Yeah.
And when we're young, our bodies can do it.
Yes, when you're young, you can get away with it. Usually.
We have very, very little clients that are like less than 30 years old, just because like they're still in that age group of like, whatever I do works, so I'm fine.
Right.
But then it becomes challenging, but you've now adapted to, this is my lifestyle, this is my habit, and now it's just not working anymore.
Yeah.
So then we just kind of take you where you are and
got to break some of those habits. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you seeing at the hospital? We were talking before we started recording here about nutrition and how things shifted there, and
I work in urology, but of course I see patients with several chronic conditions. A lot of them, unfortunately, underlying it is obesity, and that is one of the risk factors for even kidney stones. So, I'm sure you worked at Hershey as a dietitian. You were able to see that. Of course, a lot of the elderly patients that we have, we see muscle wasting. Weakness, they're in the hospital for a few days and now they can't walk. They did come in walking and now they're not. So we see that a lot. Nutrition is, I think, the key to obviously health in general, along with the exercising. It's huge.
Yeah. The survivability rate of, say, like cancer treatment is indicative based on not just your body size, because during cancer treatment you can lose weight. It's very common, not just the lack of appetite that could occur, but just the process of cancer increases your metabolism and everything. So they say to be able to increase your lean muscle mass, maximize whatever that capability is of your body, gives you a higher percentage of surviving cancer.
That's Yeah. Unfortunately, we've had to cancel surgeries because the patient is just not, they're the muscle wasting. They're just not able to actually go through the surgery because of it. Unfortunately.
And I'm sure you run into a lot of people with like CKD, chronic kidney disease,
Yes.
and everything. Yep. So their protein needs change because their kidneys aren't functioning as well as it used to.
Yep.
So
Shout out to all my renal providers. Love you guys.
Yep.
We work together.
And then that changes with time, and some of these things maybe could have been prevented based on some sort of dietary habits. The obesity is the hugest,
Yes.
the biggest one because it's heart disease. It's
Hypertension.
Yep. And then that's the silent killer of a lot of things. So
You touched on this before too, and I experienced this for a very long time, and actually Alicia really helped me understand what's going on. I'd be lethargic all the time. I'd be in a mood, or you name it, and it never dawned on me that, hey dummy, look what you're eating, that there's a huge connection. I don't know if you use the word dummy on me, but that's me calling myself a dummy, that that there's a connection. Or my stomach hurts. Why is your stomach hurt? Well, think about it. It's didn't just start hurting for no reason. There's got to be a reason why these things happen to us. We get sick. That's a virus, but your immune system was down. So, nutrition, once you start understanding that and dialing it in, oh my gosh, the energy level goes up. Your immune system goes up. You're in a better mood for the kids and the family and everything.
Right. Yeah. And touching on that, like when I first started working with clients, and I'm like, hey, I've got a lot of science. I know what I'm doing. I think I don't have the traceability, but like, let's go. So a lot of people took a good chance on me, and I'm really glad they did, because it gave a lot of confidence to what we do now. But from start to finish, we worked with, now in the year 2024, we worked with over 100 clients, and one of the first things they noticed within a week of changing their diet is that energy increase. And at the end of the day, energy is what we need. We don't need, the six-pack abs if we're feeling good. We could lose a little bit of weight and stuff like that in certain cases. But as soon as you start feeling that, that's the validation that the client needs that this is working. And it was a secondary product of my primary product. And I was very fortunate that became one, and it became the more consistent result that we had over and over and over again. So yeah, that's that restoration, the validation. Within that first week, they're like, this is great. I feel much better. I'm slimming out. I'm staying off the scale, but I'm looking in the mirror, and I can tell in my face, in my, posture, that things are different. And people just, to give that like vitality back to them, to have like power over their own body.
That's so powerful.
Yeah. Just feel good about yourself. I always tell the clients it was all them. I gave them direction, I gave them guidance, but they are the ones that did the work. I didn't feed them to make them this way. They had to put the work in. They had to go seek the help. As long as they do that, that's the first step.
And that is the toughest thing, right? That first step. We even say that at the gym, that it's that first step of getting in there and making that part of your new routine and your new lifestyle. Same with nutrition, making it a part of a daily life, not just, well, this week I'm going to do it, or it's January 1st. All right, time to start over again,
Yeah, we'll still capitalize on those people though.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do finally, maybe that's the motivator that gets them in January 1st, and then they find that, all right, I'm going to do it. It's working, and I want to, or let's say they fall off the wagon, and, the holidays are tough, and people, but they have that knowledge, and they know, all right, well, I know what I need to do to get back to where I need to be.
During that time of this, 2024, we had a good amount of people come with interest, around the holidays, but they didn't have that confidence because they were like, well, Thanksgiving's coming up, then Christmas, and I'm going to be spending a lot of time out of town. So how am I going to follow a plan? So I give them grace, and say, hey, come back when you're ready and everything. But the truth is, like, we can navigate that. And our programs too always include, we're trying not to coin the phrase, the cheat day is not necessarily, there's some bad connotation to that, but a replenish day or a free day are kind of the terms we're using. But basically, all our plans are 6 days on, 1 day off, so that you get a break. And you need that thing to look forward to at the end of the week.
Sure.
You can be strict to a certain point, but if there's no end in sight, what are you doing? So that cheat day is one to show you, or the replenish day is to show you that, one, you can have a bad day. You can have a day that you ate the cupcake, or you went to, there was Dunkin' Donuts on the way, and you've just been craving that hot, coffee that's full of sugar and everything.
Yeah.
That
coffee milkshake in the morning. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have that, then you're back on the plan for a few days. And maybe that one day was the pizza and milkshake day, and you just enjoyed the foods that you love, because food's still supposed to be celebrated, despite what our goals are. But then you just get back on the plan, and then we teach you kind of how to navigate that and reward you with those kinds of like things. We'll restrict for a small time period, and then back to the calories and everything. When you can gain, you lost the 8 pounds with that one day and everything like that. And that stuff was never in you, now that it's out, it's, showing the weight.
Yep.
But that one day of replenishing your body is not going to add fat mass, much like one day of losing all that in your body is not going to take from fat mass. So it's a process of that consistency for those 6 days. Give yourself a break, have fun that day. Go out with friends, if that's a wedding, or a funeral or whatever.
Yeah, enjoy those times. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the day you celebrate. Or if you're sick, I tell people if you're sick, you take a week off. Like recover, listen to your body, then get back to it when you're
That's the
feeling
key.
better.
Listen to your body. And we talk about that a lot at the gym, is listen to your body.
And I think you've touched on that earlier. Like, as you've been learning to eat, like we both been learning to eat more healthier. I think you're more in tune to how you feel. You know what I mean? Especially if you're like, oh, I feel like I'm getting sick or something's up. Like, I think you're more in tune to how you feel if you're more, you're watching what you're eating, you're exercising. I just think you're more apt to make better changes too.
Sure.
So, yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Well, we've had a great time talking, and I think we could probably do this all day long here. There's so much to talk about nutrition, and we'll have to have you back on another time.
That would be great.
Dive into this. But if you would have just kind of, maybe briefly, just again, how people get signed up and start the process with you.
Yeah. So anyone in Burn30, everyone gets a free 30-minute consult. I love meeting people. I'm happy to talk with you. If you need a 15-minute call just to chat and find out more about the programs, how it can work for you, we can talk about that on an individual basis. But yeah, we start with a 4-week program where you get the meal plan, you get 1 hour with us, the 4 30-minute sessions with us. And then from there, based on how results went and everything went, we have different options for how to progress. All those options are a lot cheaper than where you start. So we just kind of start everyone on the same page, because that's where all the heavy lifting comes from, where I learn, get to know you and everything. We have a website, we have Instagram, Facebook, my phone number is all over the place now, so konanutrition.com, and there's an inquiry form there that you can fill out and get, we kind of go through what might be the questions I'd want to ask you in the beginning, so then I receive that information and I'll give you a call as soon as I can, or there's just a contact form, like if you have a quick question, you can, ask it there.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, thanks so much. I've even learned a lot here tonight, and I hope that our clients did as well. And we're looking forward to working with you.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Thanks.
Yep.